Welcome back, everybody, to Let's Talk About Sleep, the YouTube channel based on the book Let's Talk About Sleep. The link to that is in the description box down below. As always, these videos are for educational purposes only. Okay. If there's anything you want me to talk about, please leave it in the comment section. I will get to all of those comments and questions. Usually what I'll do is once a month I'll take all the good comments and questions and address them in one video, which I just did about a week ago. So be on the lookout for that. And with that being said, let's talk about sleep. So last video I talked about REM, okay, rapid eye movement sleep, also a band, and it's a stage of sleep. But what's its corollary? So there's non-REM, okay, so rapid eye movement, non-rapid eye movement sleep, okay. So you'll see here the naming is not super groundbreaking, but so REM sleep, just to reiterate, is time when we spend about 90. We go into it every 90 minutes or so. Okay, that's where the sleep cycles come from. Okay, but the other time is in non-REM. Okay, so rapid eye movement, the eyes are darting back and forth, the body's paralyzed. We think it has to do with memory consolidation. That's why dreams are somewhat bizarre. Okay, in non-REM, we can dream, but it's not anything that we necessarily remember. It's much more mundane and things that are not emotionally charged. Okay, but non-REM, so REM just is REM. Okay, and like I said, every 90 minutes, the cycle, the time spent there on each cycle gets longer and longer. In non-REM, there's actually three forms of that. Okay, and you've heard me talk about one of them before. So there's non-REM stage 1, or N1. There's non-REM stage 2, or N2. And there's non-REM stage 3, or N3. N1, this is the very, very light sleep. This is the kind of sleep that you would get if you fell asleep on a subway. And actually, there's been studies showing that. If you fell asleep on a subway, 15-minute while you're waiting for your next stop, you're probably in N1 sleep. Okay? If you fell asleep during a lecture, hopefully not this video, but if you fell asleep during something like a lecture or a video, whatever, probably would be N1. Okay, you kind of wake up out of it. And we spend about maybe 10% of our night there, give or take. Not refreshing at all, but it is sleep. Non-REM stage 2, or N2, that's kind of the baseline of our sleep. And if you look at a graph of all the stages that we go into and the time spent in each one, the brain essentially goes into N2, and then it kind of goes from there into everything else. So it's kind of like the baseline of our sleep. Okay, this is kind of sleep, classic sleep. Okay, we spend about 45 to 55% of our night in stage N2. Okay, and that's all throughout the night. N3, or non-REM stage 3, you heard me talk about this before in the parasomnias video. This is what's called delta wave sleep. And if you look at this on a sleep study, right, a brainwave test on a sleep study, or brainwave graph on a sleep study, what you're going to see is big undulating waves. Okay, as opposed to waves that look like this when somebody's awake or in lighter sleep. The waves are unmistakable. Okay, what this is very, very deep sleep. Okay, and because it's so deep, it's very, very hard to wake up from. So what happens, again, Mother Nature or God, whoever, whatever you want to believe, designed us in such a brilliant way that we get this N3, this delta wave sleep in the first half of the night, not so much in the second half, simply because waking up out of this can be very, very difficult. If you've ever been in a situation where, let's say you were sleep deprived, and like medical residents have this issue quite a bit. Myself, I experience it as well. You're on overnight call, you barely sleep, you come home, you sleep for a few hours, right? You wake up after a few hours, you feel worse than you did previously. The reason why is because the brain is going into that N3 sleep preferentially to try to make up for what was lost. Waking up out of that, we have what's called sleep inertia. So it's basically just what it sounds like. The brain wants to go back into that state. Okay, so it can be very difficult to wake up from. You feel like terrible, okay, probably for hours after waking up from it. So it's designed to be in the first half of the night, so we don't have that sleep inertia when we wake up, okay? That's where we spend about 20 to 25% of our night, okay? Similar to REM, 20 to 25% of our night. But REM, rapid eye movement sleep, that tends to get longer and longer as the night goes along. Okay, whereas N3 sleep, the delta wave sleep, is in the first half of the night. Why is this important? Well, in my sleepwalking video, we talked about how children oftentimes will sleepwalk, and the reason why is because they have more of that N3 sleep. They're getting more of that delta wave sleep just naturally, right? So as they kind of transition in and out of it, there's a higher propensity for sleepwalking. That's going to happen in the first half of the night. The second half of the night, that's when other things can occur, okay? But sleepwalking usually is going to happen in the first half, maybe first third of the night, and parents will probably tell you that. So, so what's going on during these non-REM stages? Well, certainly they're needed, okay? We think that N3 sleep, that's where, we know that's where growth hormone is produced, okay? So what happens is growth hormone is used for a lot of different things in the body, okay, obviously for us to grow, but also muscle development. A lot of that is going to be released during N3, so that's important, right? So it's kind of for the body, whereas REM is more for the mind. It's a very simple way of looking at things, but just that's kind of how we view it. So one is not more important than the other, but it just, that's kind of what's happening. Okay, so we get N3 in the first half of the night and REM in the second half. Okay, but we need both. And like I said, if somebody is deprived, if somebody is sleep deprived, they're going to have on their makeup night more REM, more N3, because those are the two stages of sleep that are really what's helping us to get the most bang out of the buck for our sleep. Okay, so again, just like in REM sleep, if somebody has a sleep disorder like obstructive sleep apnea, they may not be getting as much N3 sleep, and as a result of that, they may be a little bit tired. They may not, weight loss may become an issue, okay, because they're not getting the hormonal changes that are supposed to occur when somebody goes into that sleep. Everything is designed for a reason in our body, okay, and when we're missing out on certain things during sleep, it does affect us. Okay, so now you know kind of the more of the breakdown of what these things are. Okay, so that's non-REM sleep. Okay, especially non-REM stage 3, also known as delta wave. If you have questions, please drop them in the comment section below. As always, the link to my book is also below. Please like this channel. Please subscribe. Please share it with your friends and family. Helps us out. And until next time, sleep well.